Before we start, Chad Brindle, who covers the beat here really well, he's out because his wife has cancer, and he's going to be out for a month in the hospital with her. And they've been dealing with that as a family for a long time. I don't know how long, but it's since I've been here and a lot longer before that. So hope he's doing well. I know he's listening, and Chad will be looking forward to having you sitting here and your wife Kelly doing well in the future here. So thinking about you. Before we ask questions, any league win's a good win. That's a really good basketball team. It's a really good offensive basketball team. And they're a confusing and good defensive basketball team. I thought we did a really nice job early in the game of being in a stance defensively, playing with purpose defensively, really working to make shots difficult, specifically around the basket and on the three-point line. And I thought that led for opportunities for us to get out and run and share the ball. And you look down in 20 assists, that's probably the part that I'm the most proud of. So you love to see the ball popping around like that. Defensively, I want to be better. Guys, there's moments I'm proud of, and then it just wasn't consistent enough. And they're a really good offensive team, so you're not going to just get stops all the time, but there's some breakdowns there, specifically in the second half. I thought to come out of the half, we just weren't ready to play early in possession, so you're playing from behind. You're not in the stance, you're not matched up in transition, and now you're playing from behind, and they're a team that kind of comes up the floor at like 30 miles an hour, and then all of a sudden they're at like 70 before you know it, and you got to be ready when they're coming up at 30. And I thought that we just weren't alert enough, I should say, early in the possession, and there were some breakdowns there down the stretch. I've said this on the radio here a second ago, but I think when you have a 3-possession lead under 2 minutes, you got to use clock. I've never been one to start doing that too early in a game, because I think when you lose your aggressiveness, sometimes that can really backfire. So you always want to attack and keep under control. But under 2 minutes with a 3-possession lead, you got to pull it out and try to use some clock. And we had 2 opportunities to do that. One, Ches turns it over, and the other one we turn it over. Vic and others out there in the middle of the floor that leads to a basket for them. So that, finishing games out needs to be a little bit better. But you did see some stops down the stretch, and that's really how you finish games. And then obviously the turnover, in the press offense with Shuey, you don't like to see that. So we got some work to do there, and some work to do to be more consistent defensively. But overall, you win a league game at home, you have 20 assists. Those are the things you're going to feel good about. And finally, Mike Adams-Woods. I thought he was terrific. And a lot of guys were terrific, but I thought he was terrific tonight. They didn't pay quite as much of attention to him, especially early in the game, and I thought he did a really nice job of attacking off the bounce and making the right decision with the basketball. And I think everybody looked down and goes 7 for 8, 18 points, but I thought his decision-making and aggressiveness helped our team, and it's amazing how basketball works, that when you do that, sometimes the ball goes in for you too. So it was a really good night for him, and he just keeps kind of getting better and more confident at the point guard position.
You talked about Micah coming into the season. You felt like he had made some strides as an offensive player. He's even having to play more now with Rob out. What is it, whether it's this offseason or just over the course of the first 15 games of the season or so, that you've seen him improve compared to last year, maybe?
I think, like our, there's a culture here working and improving, and not just on your game, but your body. You never arrive from a culture perspective. You're always becoming, you're always working at it. But there's a culture this past off season that was established that you can be proud of as a coach, that guys are in the gym. So if I sit here and just talk about Shuey or Micah and his day-to-day approach on his body with Coach Rayfeld and getting in the gym and shooting and playing pickup, and not just the stuff we do with them, the stuff they're doing on their own or with our graduate assistants and managers. I could talk about everybody on the roster, and that's something you're proud of. So you see the effects of guys improving because of the work that they put in. So I think it all goes back to the work, and then I think he's getting more and more confident and playing more and more to his strengths and who he is as a player.
Do you think Rob coming in, just knowing there's somebody else to compete with, maybe, do you think that helped at all?
I've always believed in competition. I always believe in lacing them up and competing. And you talk about player development, we can have a long conversation because that's something we think about every single day, and we have a process and a plan for that. And competing every day, that's a big part of development. And so we're always going to have competition every possession. And if you don't like that, this ain't the place to play. But yeah, I think that there's something to that for all of our guys.
You mentioned the defensive aspect moments ago. Just talk about the performance David DeJulius had on the defensive end. I mean, you held Jalen Cook just to 2 points there in the second half, and we all know how great of a player Jalen Cook is. Just talk about his performance there on the defensive side. We know he's taken that challenge to really hone in on the best offensive player on the opposing team. What did you think of his performance defensively tonight?
Yeah, I should have said it already. I don't want anybody to think I take David for granted. But yeah, it was tremendous, and it had a major effect on the outcome of the game. You know, because Cook, preseason first team All-League unanimously. Enough said, right? Enough said about the kind of player he is. And I thought him fouling out had a huge outcome on the possessions down the stretch. And think about why he fouls out, right? There's a couple offensive fouls that David draws, beating them to a position and, you know, being in great legal guarding position to draw that offensive foul. Those are humongous plays for our team. You can see here in the last couple games that he's taking his defensive assignment like serious in a way that I really relate to and I really like, and it's having an effect on our entire team. And so you can look down and I'll tell you what, 13 points, 5 assists, and 0 turnovers, that's something. But what he's doing defensively, that's something even more. And the more guys we get to jump on that bandwagon with that type of purpose defensively, the better we're going to be. But he was tremendous on Cook, and it did have a major outcome on the game.
I know the defensive stuff drives you crazy, but the offensive metrics compared to last year, you made huge strides. I know you had Ches and Vicks playing better, but what else is it that you feel like has allowed this team to really progress on that side?
Yeah, there's a lot of offensive threats on the floor, you know. And again, you add Landers Nolly. I mean, we talked about it since we got him. He's a major offensive threat alongside of David DeJulius, Jeremiah Davenport. And then we talked about this back in the preseason. People probably thought you didn't believe me, but then you look at like Micah Adams Woods and his improvement, or Vic. So it's not just the guys you add, it's the guys that are in your program improving. And everybody is an offensive threat, and that's going to make you better offensively. And then I think you look at like Josh Reed, Dan Skillings. I mean, they really bring something offensively as well. So the guys that are on the court are all offensive threats. We got a lot of firepower out there, and we got to get more consistent offensively. We go through weird droughts, right? I think everybody knows that. We got to get a little more consistent offensively, but I do think we have the ability to be a good offensive team.
I asked Landers about this. What is better, his shot fake or his shot? It's almost old school looking, which a guy like me is not going to mind.
Yeah, he's that's what good offensive players do. They have a weapon and they have a way to play off of that, right? So he's such an elite shooter, and there's sometimes he shot fakes I want him to shoot it, because every time he shoots it I think it's going in. He's such an elite shooter, and then he has such an elite shot fake, and those two things play off of each other, and I think that stands out. His decision making with the ball is getting better and better, and there's a couple plays, like there's the ball screen tonight early where he falls down, or he's driving baseline tonight and throws it away on the baseline drift in the first half. Like there's a couple plays there that, you know, you go, man, come on, do a better job with the ball. But if you look at where he was 4 or 5 months ago or in the summertime to now, his decision-making and ball skills are like improving at this incredible rate. And so his skills as an offensive player are going to keep being more and more than just a great shooter and a great shot fake guy. He's going to be a playmaker, or a more consistent playmaker. So just kind of hold on there, because I think he's just scratching the surface of who he's capable of being as an offensive player.
Victor gives you 13 boards, you out-rebound him. I think I heard you say somewhere that even if they're not getting rebounds, let's volley the ball around. I saw him do that a time or two. Obviously, I think you're 5-0 when he has a double-double. I mean, just how crazy is his improvement over last year?
Well, I'll talk about Vic, but 6 offensive rebounds. We missed 30 shots and we only get 6 offensive rebounds. You guys know I'm not gonna like that, and that's something we were talking about in every time out, it felt like. We had 2 of the 6 offensive rebounds in the first 2 minutes of the game, and one of them was Vic on the offensive board. I think it was the first basket of the game, and the second one was Vic tipping it out, and those were both in the first couple possessions. So you only have 4 for the rest of the game. We gotta be better on the offensive board. I mean, we have to be better on the offensive board. I promise you guys we're working like hell at it at practice. Gosh, there's one there in the second half where you felt Vic and Landers could have gotten it, and it drops, and we let the other team get it, and that kind of stuff drives me crazy. But Vic's improvement, it's remarkable, right? But I still think he's just scratching the surface of who he is as a player. Like you're not seeing anybody close to their ceiling. Like his ability is so elite, and he works like crazy like the rest of them, and he's going to keep coming and coming and coming.
2 more questions?
You mentioned guys like Dan and Vic. They combined for 12 of the team's first 18 rebounds there in the early segments of this game. Talk about what you saw from them early on that really got this ball rolling tonight.
Yeah, I thought Dan's minutes in the first half were tremendous, and man, he's got a knack for the ball, doesn't he? I mean, I looked down at him tonight, 6 rebounds in 12 minutes. Talk about making the most of your minutes. I thought he was, other than the charge, I thought he was really, really effective. And I think as we go back and look at the tape, we're probably going to go, man, we probably got to give Dan another rotation, but they cut it to 4 there. And you're in a league game, first one of the year, and you just kind of roll with the guys with all the experience. But I think we're going to go back at the tape and look at Dan's minutes and get a lot of confidence in him, not just to play him, but to play him down the stretch of games. I could be wrong, but that's kind of what I feel sitting up here on the podium right now. And that's what young guys got to do. They got to go in big-time games and league games and make a lot of plays and give you confidence to give them more minutes. And I think Dan Skillings is coming and coming and coming, and his improvement's been remarkable as well. I think him and Josh Reed, as we keep going here, for our team to be who we have to be, instead of playing 12 and 10, those minutes got to get up and up and up for us to be the kind of team we're capable of being. And some of that's on me as a coach, making sure that they get more time, and some of that's on them to keep giving us reasons to do it.
It's the first conference game, but it's also really the first opponent you've played like this in terms of net or Ken Pom, wherever it's either top heavy or lower in non-conference. What do you take away from how you played against?
The first what? I'm sorry?
Like the first team, it was either top heavy in non-conference or maybe a little bit lower down. So this is kind of that first team, I guess, in the middle a little bit. What do you take away from having a chance to play an opponent like that and, playing well, getting a win?
That's a good win. Good team. A really good team. The NCAA tournament level team. So should give that. I think we have confidence we can beat good teams. Certainly you're a possession away from top 25 team in this building. A couple weeks back, there were moments in other games against teams that are in the top 25 we played against where you feel like you can compete with anybody. It's just about consistency, and it was more consistent tonight, especially offensively, and it should be something we can build on.
Thanks, Coach.
Yeah, thanks, guys.